Hello, class. Excuse me. Well, I am excited for this video. This video is optional. The other video that's posted is your lesson. But I thought this video would be fun to demonstrate how to draw a duck. I had someone ask me if we could learn how to draw a duck. So that's what this video will be. I have my sketchbook out and I will just record what I'm doing and kind of verbally tell you what the process is that I'm going through and give you tips and tricks for your own video or your own drawing if you want to draw a duck. Practice is always the best bet, especially for art, music, math, or science, or anything that you are learning. Practice, practice, practice. Practice doesn't necessarily make perfect, but it certainly does make things easier. And when things are easier, we have a better chance of having more fun with it. When I first was learning how to do multiplication, when I was younger than you guys, that was not fun. That was very hard. But eventually, with a bunch of practice, I found I could do it quicker and it was more fun. Now, drawing is the same. As we practice, we get more confident. When we get more confident, it's more fun because we can do it faster. So, let's begin drawing a duck. I'll have a picture of what my reference photo is on the screen. Reference photos are a good tool to use because it's always easier to draw from life. Or if we don't have a duck that can stand still for us, we use a photo. This is a good practice for drawing from life, which we will hopefully get to do soon. We'll make still lives and draw from that. A still life is when you set objects up, like if I wanted to draw my water bottle and my cup. I would set them in an arrangement, not touch them, and try to draw them in the same spot. That's just a little bit extra things. Let's get started on drawing this duck, shall we? Okay, we're gonna start drawing my duck. First, let me pull up my reference photo on my computer. Now, I want to draw a duck that is just sitting in some water. So I am going to pick I'm going to pick this one. Okay. This is a nice picture of a duck. So first I'm going to break it into small shapes and kind of do it like a quick sketch before I go in with the details. Now this part of the drawing process is very important that you lightly sketch. You're going to barely press down on the paper. See how you can barely see that on the video? I can barely see it on my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate my sketchbook this way so it's a little bit easier to have the same orientation as the duck. Let's start drawing. Very lightly, I'm going to draw kind of a circle, just block it in. Circle for the head of the duck and the general angle of his neck, kind of like this, and then down, and then the water hits him right around here. So we have the neck and the front of his chest into the water, and then kind of goes up to here. We have the wing kind of arch up like this, goes to a point right here. And his little tail feathers are right there. It's at a different angle than what I drew initially, so that's going to be like that instead. Still have those feathers. Don't want to forget the beak, so I'm going to sketch that in really quick. Now, as you can see, I have a very sketchy drawing. There are a lot of lines making up the final line. Now I'm going to go back and make these much smoother, but I'm going to keep going over until I have the exact line that I want for my duck. And then his head, I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at the drawing, or not the drawing, sorry, I'm making sure that I'm looking at my reference photo much more than I'm looking right here so that I can see it. I actually see it. I'm not just assuming what the duck looks like. I'm actually looking at this particular image of a duck. It's a mallard duck. Mallard ducks are the ones with the green head and the white band. Now I think that the lady mallard ducks, the females, I think they look a little bit different, but I'm not super sure, so we'll have to look that up. Now I am adding these lines to make it look a little bit, these like darker lines to finalize where things are. So I kind of finished the sketchy phase, and now I'm going in with the more determined line, I suppose, the stronger line, the darker line, definitely. So this is my favorite part because I get to finally put all this stuff down, all this information into my drawing. Now I'm gonna go back to the wing, kind of dips down right here, and the other wing shows through right there. And then this one goes like this, and it does curve back kind of like that. And then I'm going to separate the dark from the light. So this is going to go over here all the way to where I started the wing, like this. Excuse me. And then there's another little line that kind of pops out and it meets back down by where the duck goes into the water. Right here. Now, I'm gonna kind of swoosh this on over because he's in the water. So we can't see all of the little duck, but we're kind of above him a little bit. So that perspective means that the water isn't a straight line across him. It's kind of got this curve. So I'm gonna make sure that the water is right here. Got those ripples in the water. And then see how the water keeps going up above and behind him? The water in my reference photo goes way up here. That means that we're looking down at the lake, at the water, or the pond, or whatever he's sitting in. So I'm just going to make sure that the water ripples go around the little duck. And we're basing everything in our drawing on what we see in our reference photo. Once we get really, really, really practiced at drawing from a reference photo, that's when we can translate what we've learned into drawing from our imagination, which is a completely different skill set that's really fun to use. My lights went off. Now, we've added the water a little bit up here with all those ripples. Now we're gonna make sure that they go off the page as well, but don't forget this side of the duck as well. There's a little darkness in the water right here. Now this is okay to be lighter because it's in the background. Otherwise it would look like it was coming right out of the duck. And that would be quite interesting. Now we have some more tail feathers, so we're gonna just put these in here. We also have this darker section, so we're gonna make sure that the dark tail feathers will get darkened, but we're also making sure we have the texture of the feathers. We're adding all the lines that we see. You can never add too much in this phase. We're not quite there yet, not quite done, but I think we're having a good start. I'm having fun. It's a little bit of a challenge to talk while I draw, but that's okay. It looks like I forgot his eye. His eye should be right around here. Now, drawing circles is really difficult for me, and it looks like his eye is a pretty good circle since we're looking at him from a profile. So I'm going to kind of fine-tune it until I get a good circle instead of an oval. It's still kind of an oval, but that's okay. I'm going to add the little shadow right here in the front of his eye, and then there's a little bit of one to the back of his eye, and there we go. Oh, and I forgot this little line for the beak. Goes kind of like this. And he looks like he's smiling, which is super cute. So we're just going to darken that a little bit so we can see that cute duck smile. Like that. And then the bottom part of the beak goes kind of in like that and then back up. I made it a little bit too pronounced, but that's okay. Gonna erase some of these sketchy lines so that the real finalized version of it kind of comes to the foreground. There, now I kind of have a duck. Kind of have a duck. Okay, I had fun. Now what would be good is to add that little white mallard necklace right here. Now it's a little bit more clear just from this line drawing that he's a mallard. Now what I will do is add a little bit of value where it's darker. Now I like to add the darkest darks in my drawing first. So I have a baseline for the midtones or the grays. Midtone is another way to say gray, which we will go over in class. The direction of your line also makes a difference in your drawing, which is really fun to experiment with. You can make it go in the direction of the feathers to give it that form and volume of a certain area on your drawing. That really gives your drawing a whole nother little step up. Now his tail feathers are all pretty dark, so I'm just going to darken these up, leaving a little bit of highlight where there's a highlight. Making sure it's darkest right where it's darkest in my reference photo, which is at the base of each feather. And then to make sure that each feather has this like value range right here, I'm pressing hard and then I lighten up towards the more gray of the feather. That's a fun technique to give it form. We'll practice that in class as well. This right here is pretty light, but underneath is pretty dark. So I'm going to go in here and darken this little bit of feathers up. And then the water is pretty dark right here too, so I'm gonna just add this and kind of darken it up at the base of the duck where the water meets it. This is pretty dark right here. And then this part of the duck is dark as well. Oh, and a good tip, if you ever need to just move your sketchbook, you can. That's a good way to rotate the angle that your hand is drawing from. It really helps with drawings to just kind of rotate your sketchbook around. Oh, his eye needs to be shaded in. His eye is probably the darkest dark on the entire thing. I'm gonna make sure I leave a little highlight for his eye for the light reflecting. Just kind of right around there. The rest of it I'm gonna darken as dark as my little pencil will get it. There we go. Now I'm gonna go into the little shadow right here and right here. This is a little bit of a softer, softer transition from dark to mid-tone, that nice shiny green of the feathers. And then the beak has this little kind of dent in it right here. So I'm just gonna, like that. And of course, the bottom part of the beak is a little bit more shaded. Oh, and he has this little bit of black on the tip of his beak. And his little, this is filled in. It's not a circle, it's a dot. Then we have a little bit of shadow right there. And I'm pretty happy with my duck. This needs to be a little bit more shaded in. So let's actually go ahead and do this really quick. Because this part of the duck is not white. It's more of a, well, in there it's a light brown, but if I just wanted to do a pencil drawing, this is what I would do. I would make it a little bit like so. And then same with this portion right here. And notice how I'm going, my line is going with the directions of the feathers. Just like that. And then this is a little bit dark right here. Not too dark, but a little smidgen. And there I have a duck. I hope you enjoyed this. This is optional. I definitely went a little bit over my intended video, so I will probably trim this up a bit. But here's a duck. Happy drawing!